Hello dear students, welcome back to my YouTube channel Physiology Learning. Today we are continuing with the cardiovascular system. So in this video we are going to discuss about some of the ECG basics, like the physiological basis of ECG. And all of us know ECG is one little complicated topic and there are lots to study in the topic. So what I wanted to do with the ECG is we will be dealing it with a separate series. So now we are starting with ECG inside the cardiovascular system, and this playlist will be separately available as ECG series also. So people who want to study ECG series alone can go back to the playlist and then check out those videos. So here in this ECG series, we will be discussing about the history of ECG and what are the electrodes and leads of ECG and what are the ECG wave generation, how the waves are being generated, and what are the waveforms of ECG in various leads. It is not only one recording that we are going to take, it is going to be multiple facets of different types of leads. So that is going to be studied in the fourth video, and ECG paper setting. So we have to know what is the normal calibrations of the ECG paper and what are the various steps to analyze ECG. So after giving this introduction, we will try to analyze an ECG, and that we will be seeing about the heart rate calculation, then access, then specifically on ECG changes on myocardial infarction and Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, heart blocks, arrhythmias, and finally some of the electrolyte abnormalities. In addition to this, if you need any other videos to be done on under the ECG series, kindly drop me in the comment section. I'll be happy to make a video on it. So the first topic, that is the history of ECG. So all of us know ECG is one sophisticated instrument, and it is a simple instrument and it is a very easily portable instrument. But initially when ECG was discovered, it was not a smaller machine at all. It was such a huge machine, and the history dates back to very long years back. So first of all, what is an ECG? So ECG, all of you know that it is electrocardiogram. Electrocardiogram. And sometimes the recording is also called as electrocardiograph. And sometimes you will be seeing this term, that is EKG. That is also nothing but electrocardiogram with a K. So all this ECG definition, what it does, like what is it ECG, that what it is recording. So it is recording the electrical activity of the heart. So it is recording the electrical activity of the heart. So all of us know till now that we have studied in the conduction system itself, the SA node fires and it sends through the conduction pathway and it gives impulse to the entire ventricle and the atrium. So this electrical activity of the heart can be recorded by an ECG machine. So whether we are placing the electrodes inside the heart, the answer is no. It is nothing but a surface recording. Surface recording. So how is it possible that the heart is beating and it is generating impulse and we are recording at the surface? How is it possible? Because our body is something acting like a volume conductor. So whenever any electrical activity is generated at one point, it is conducted in the body fluids and it can be recorded even on the surface. So body is acting like a volume conductor. So because of these properties only we are able to record an ECG. So it is basically the surface recording of the electrical activity of the heart. And next thing is, it is such a sophisticated instrument. We do not have to do any kind of intervention, or it is not something that is painful to the patient. It is just a simple procedure. You just place the electrodes on the subject and it is going to give us the recording of the heart. Then who invented ECG? Of course, most of you would be guessing the name as Einthoven. Obviously, it is Einthoven. But before Einthoven itself, there are a lot of scientists who has contributed to this wonderful part, that is the ECG development. So let's see them one by one. That is the history of ECG. So first is Luigi Galvani in the 1790s itself, even before the 1790s itself, he started working on animals and he found that there is some electricity or electrical activity produced whenever the muscle is stimulated or used electrical stimulus to twitch it. So this finding led to an observation that the body or the electrical activity can be conducted via the muscles. So he was doing this study on frogs. Accidentally he found out this experiment. How did he find out this? There was a lightning which struck the frog, and the frog, which was dead, even after the death, its muscles started twitching. So he understood that the electrical activity can be generated in the muscle portion. Next the Augustus D. Waller, he recorded the first human ECG, but he did not use a capillary or he did not use a string galvanometer. He recorded with the help of an instrument called as capillary electrometer. And as you can see here, he first recorded this activity on a pet dog. There is a bulldog which is named as Jimmy, and his study on Jimmy became very famous, and he was the one to record some of the activities of the heart on the surface using a capillary electrometer. But still, this was not well developed machine. So next came in a lot of scientists. So this was the recording done by Augustus Waller, and next came the scientist that is one of the most important pioneer in ECG, that is Willem Einthoven. What he did is he recorded the ECG using a string galvanometer, and he was also awarded Nobel Prize in the year 1924 for his discovery. And he identified this string galvanometer instruments around the 1902 regions. As you can see here, this is Willem Einthoven along with his apparatus. As you can see from this image itself, the person is sitting and he is literally dipping his hands and legs in an electrolyte solution. So at that time, there will be a machine and he has to dip his hands as well as feet into the electrolytes so that the electrical activity can be conducted. And it was such a huge machine, and this machine was around 600 pounds when it was initially identified. Now, all of us know that ECG can be recorded even through the smartwatches. So, we have gone from this 600-pound machine to a sophisticated portal ECG and even the wearable devices. So, that's how the ECG has progressed. And during the time of Einthoven, he recorded the waves which were having a lot of inertia and a lot of other noises. So, initial waves that were named as you can see from this image, the initial waves were named as A, B, C, and D. Then, after applying some of the mathematical corrections for the inertia, he was able to extract the waves from this crude observation, from this crude recording. So, that waves he labeled as P, Q, R, S, T, which we commonly use it as the PQRST waves. And there are a lot of theories why he chose the letters P, Q, R, S, T rather than choosing A, B, C, D. Because at that time, the initial waves were named as A, B, C, D. So to differentiate from that, he chose the letter P, Q, R, S, T. And some people say that he took somewhere in the middle of the alphabet so that if further waves are identified, for now, for example, we know the U waves. If further waves are identified before or after, it can be inserted. And he is also a follower of Democritus, on whom usually whenever his teacher was or whenever he was teaching his pupils, he used to point the points with the letter P. So some people say that he also got inspired from previous scientist work and he started with a PQRST system starting with P. There are multiple theories for it. Whatever the theory is, right now the present waves are named as PQRST waves, so that the other waves can be inserted afterwards or before it also. Then Einthoven identified something called as the limb leads, the leads which are placed along the limbs only. So his electrodes, as you can see from this image also, initially it was a crude instrument, but still he developed a string galvanometer which was giving more or less the modern day PQRST waves. As you can see here, this instrument, the subject has to dip in it, and that is happening only at the limbs. So he invented the limb leads, which we will see it further also. The limb leads were invented by Einthoven. Later on, to take much more interpretation, so that to take much more images of the heart in a different direction, the chest leads were introduced by Wilson. The chest leads are usually 6 in number, which is starting from V1 to V6, which we will discuss in the leads video. And Goldberger, what he did was he wanted to give augmentation of the leads, some of the leads which were already placed. And he introduced 3 of the augmented leads. Augmented means little enhancement. There was a little enhancement of the waves. All these things we will study, and all the lead placements we will study in the next video, wherein we are going to cover the electrodes and leads. So this is how the modern day ECG evolved from such a big machine and to the smallest portable devices and recordable ECG. ECG is really an important topic, and it gives a lot of information and value. Since it is a rapid test, it can be done immediately and the results can be obtained immediately. And if you are able to interpret ECG, that gives a great advantage for you to practice, because a lot of interpretation and helpfulness is there with the ECG machine. And the modern day ECG machines, as you can see here, it gives a print as well as it can have a digital recording also. You can store it digitally, because most of the times this print fades away and it fades away. So that's why we advise the patient to get a Xerox copy of this and keep it safe, because this ECG paper has a tendency to, the waves might disappear after repeated usage or if it is kept there for a very long time. So now you can drop your answer in the comments box. What is a Holter monitoring? Obviously, it is related something to the ECG, but what is this Holter monitoring? So if you have any further queries with respect to ECG or any requests, please drop it in the comment section so that I can see it and make a further video of it. Thank you for watching the video. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.